Hey guys, Mr. Jenkins here. This will be your lesson for 2-3, which is about linear functions in slope-intercept form. So I'll go ahead and get right to it. Your learning target for this would be that you could develop an equation for a line in slope-intercept form if given a graph. And vice versa. So you could also develop a graph given an equation. So now I'm here. It says a linear function is a relation whose, and this would be graph, is a line. Obviously you hear the word line or see the word line in linear. An exception, an equation in the form blank is a vertical line and blank and is not a function. So the only non-function is a vertical line, because a vertical line is going to fail the vertical line test. So that would be when x equals a number. In other words, there's no y in the equation. There's no output variable, and that is not a function. Again, that's pretty easy to think about why a vertical line would fail the vertical line test. So first we're going to talk about slope. I'll do a couple examples. Example 1 says find the slope of a line that passes through the given points. It reminds us of the slope formula here. The difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go m equals 1 minus 4. Now, I will say it's not important whether you do 1 minus 4 or 4 minus 1. You just have to be consistent. So since I did 1 minus 4, then I have to do 8 minus 5. 5 minus 8 would be wrong. So you just have to be consistent there. 8 minus 5. And then I get negative 3 over positive 3. And then we just want to simplify. In this case, that simplifies to negative 1. So that would be the slope of that line. I'm going to skip to C and I'll leave B for you. So doing this one, we go 3 minus negative 4 over 9 minus 9. So really at this point, I know if 0 is on the bottom, it doesn't matter what the top number is. I'll go ahead and put it there. But if you have 0 on the bottom, that's automatically undefined. Okay, so an undefined slope is also another way to say a vertical line. This would be a vertical line. All right. So then at the bottom of the page, we just see the 4 types of slopes. Positive if it's increasing from left to right. Negative if it's decreasing from left to right. 0 if it's a flat line or a horizontal line. And undefined if it's a vertical line. All right, looking at example B, if we're given various attributes such as slope and the y-intercept, just plugging that into our equation. So our equation, slope-intercept form is right here, y equals mx plus b. You probably remember hearing that. So if we sub in 1/5 for m, and negative 3 for b, it would look like this. Y equals 1/5 x minus 3. So in other words, we don't want to write plus negative 3. You want to do minus 3. A little bit tougher from a graph, but still, nothing you haven't seen before. I always like to find b first because that is the easier part to find. So B is where I cross the y-axis. All right, so this crosses at 0, negative 3, it looks like. And then my slope, so I see that this is what I like to call a corner point. So from point to point, I'm gonna, well, let's go from the left one to the right one. So I'm gonna rise -1, rise -1, and I'm gonna run 2. So the slope is -1/2. All right, so now that I know that, I know M and I know B. So now I just sub in. We say y equals -1/2 x minus 3. All right, I'll say 2b and 2d for you to do on your own if you choose. Those are on the filled out notes. Example 3 wants us to write the equation in slope-intercept form and then identify what the slope and the y-intercept are. So it says helpful hint, we must solve for y. We covered that a little bit on the last lesson, but so solve for y. First thing we would want to do on 3a is move 3x over there. So if I subtract 3x from both sides, that's going to leave me with 2y equals -3x. I always just remember if I move a term from one side to the other, it's the opposite sign on the other side. So don't forget that. And then divide everything by 2 is going to give me y equals -3/2x. And then plus 18/2, which simplifies to +9. Okay, at this point, I can easily identify that the slope is -3/2 and that the y-intercept is 0,9. So I'll do that where I have, write that where I have a little bit of room. So m -3/2, b is at 0,9. Just pay attention to the directions on Math Excel. I'm not sure if they want you to say b equals 9 or write it as an ordered pair. If it's as an ordered pair, b is always the second number. It's a y value. And I'll leave the other one for you. Okay, so now we're going to look at graphing a linear equation. And I think that will wrap us up. So all you have to do is pick out what's M and what's B. B is going to be kind of your starting point, so you want to identify that first. So if I'm putting step by step, step 1 is we're going to identify that B is 0, 5, and we're going to plot that point on our graph. So right there. Common mistake might be you put it right there. That's 5, 0. So just be careful. And then M, we use slope from there. It is -4. Usually we think rise over run, so I put that over 1. So rise -4, that means go down 1, 2, 3, 4 units and run 1. Means go there. Or I could go up 4 and left 1, but that kind of goes off my graph. So I always like to have at least 3 guide points. So I'm going to do one more. 2, 3, 4 over 1. And then you just make your line. You don't have to worry about this as much, but back in the day when we used to use paper pencil, I would always tell my students to use a straight edge or something, but you guys are using Math Excel, so all you really have to do is make 2 points. So you'll choose the line function, you'll make a point there, you'll make a point there, and that'll finish the line for you. Okay? Do 1 or 2 more, and then leave the rest for you. On 4B, we're not ready to do anything. If we look at this and say the slope is 4, we're wrong. If we look at it and say the y-intercept is 14, we're wrong because you can't tell until you solve for y. So you have to do that part first. So first step is we're going to move 4x from the left to the right. So that's going to give me -7y equals -4x plus 14. Then we divide everything by -7. So we get y equals 4/7x. and then minus 2. Positive 14 over negative 7 is negative 2. So notice when just a general rule, when you divide by a negative, these signs are going to flip. Okay. So step 1 would be that we want to start at B. So B in this case is negative 2. So right there. And then from there, we want to use the fact that the slope is 4 over 7. So up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right 7. I'm just looking. I can tell that that's 7, so I was just looking at that. Or you could also go down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and left 7 to get to negative 7 over there. All right, so a couple things that can easily mess you up is you do a negative slope when you're supposed to do a positive. So I just do a quick check. I can tell that has a positive slope. So does my line. Negative y-intercept. This equation has a negative slope. So does my line. So everything looks good. And let's just do 4D, and I'll leave the rest for you guys. So anytime it says y equals a number or x equals a number, it's either going to be vertical or horizontal. You just have to remember which is which. I can tell you what helps me is I just kind of go to where y equals 4 from the origin, and that helps me to remember that a vertical line through that wouldn't make sense, right? But a horizontal line would, right? So if it says y equals a number, that's always going to be a horizontal line. So that means that for E is probably going to be a vertical line, right? Which we already touched on earlier in the notes. Okay, but I will leave the rest blank for this video just to be brief. You can see the rest of the examples filled out on the filled out notes and your resources for the assignment. Remember that your actual assignment is section 2.3 Math Excel. So use these notes, use this video. Hopefully they help, and let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks.